All right. So, I currently have two problems right now. The first of which is that my little brother really wants me to make another video soon so that he can watch it. He's watched all my past videos and he really enjoyed them and was like, hey, you need to make a new video soon so I can watch it. So, he really wants me to make a new video. And my second problem is that I still have some footage from my Superman review that I did when I got right out of the theater from seeing that movie. I haven't posted it yet because it's too short and I didn't do any other vlogs that day, so I didn't know where to put it. But I figured to solve both of my problems, I'll not only release my out of theater reaction to the Superman movie, but then afterwards, I'm going to give you my post-viewing thoughts. That's where I currently stand. My out of theater reaction is about to play. All right, I just got out of the theater from seeing Superman, the new movie, and I'm perfectly aware that I am not a movie review channel, but I feel like this is a pretty big event on my trip, and I had a good time, so I'm going to give my review anyways. Maybe spice up the videos a little bit. So, overall, I thought that was a really solid movie. Definitely good. I'd say it was a really good comic book movie. A really good movie in general. But I'm not sure where I stand on a Superman movie. I think it had lots of good messages that new audiences that are coming into Superman and kind of learning about Superman can really appreciate. And I feel like there were certain aspects of the character that were maybe tweaked a little bit to be more appealing to general audiences to draw them into the character. Now, that means it wasn't as true to the character as I'd personally have liked, but I still really enjoyed that movie and consider it probably my favorite Superman movie between this and Man of Steel, the Zack Snyder version that came out a couple of years ago. So, if you have kids, I'd take them to see this. There's one or two curse words in it. I think the extent is asshole. Like, that's the worst it gets. But I'd say it was a really solid time. Just a lot of fun. And there's a lot of, like, good, funny parts that kids will like and just general audiences will like. Again, like I was saying with that, good messaging in it. Kind of this story about the character learning a lesson is really important. And I think it just appeals to general audiences. So, those are my thoughts on the movie. Land Striker, out. All right. So, I saw Superman 2025 on opening night. And since then, I've had a couple of weeks for the buzz to kind of develop and for reviews to come out. And I finally decided to give an opinion of my own. Now, I'm going to break this into two parts. I'm going to do the good, the bad, and then I'm going to finish off with kind of like just a closing thoughts. So, first of all, the good. I mean, I have to say, that was a really solid movie just as it stands. Every movie should have some kind of character arc, and the people in the story should learn some kind of lesson. And I not only feel that Superman had an arc, but also numerous characters had small arcs. Of course, they weren't grand, because as I'll touch on later, there was a little problem with too many characters, but there were still arcs, and I really appreciated that. Second of all, the characters felt true to their comic book counterparts. People have talked about this before, but I mean, Green Lantern in the movie is a total prick, and it's great and absolutely true to the character. He kind of straddles this line between asshole but also doing the right thing, which is kind of fun. So, I have to say that's great. I want to give some shout outs to two main characters. So first of all, Lois Lane. I mean, man, I can easily say this is my favorite Lois Lane. She not only gets ample screen time in this movie, but she's also a really well-written character, I'd say, in general. A lot of the times when people try to write strong female characters, it comes off as forced or as if they haven't earned their strength. But in this story, she's a badass, strong female character. And that's not because she's out there fighting people and beating everybody up, but because she stands up for herself and she's willing to push Superman and push the rest of the super characters, which is really something I love to see out of characters that are not superpowered in a superhero movie. Now, again, people have beat this point to death, so I'm not going to dwell on it. This is truly one of the most comic book movies out there, if not the most comic book movie. So I'll just let that one lie. Now, I also want to say Superman in this movie was pretty solid. Now, he wasn't the truest he could be to his comic book counterpart. I think there is stuff you can do to make it even more realistic, but this character kind of had a new approach almost to Superman and was really fun to see. He almost felt like tweaked just a little bit to the modern era and tweaked for new audiences that aren't quite familiar with this character. One of the problems a lot of people have with Superman is that he's just too powerful. He just feels like there's not enough stakes. And while I could do a whole video going into why that's kind of misguided, that's how people feel. And in this movie, he has a match. He gets beat up and he loses a couple of times, in fact. And that's a major point of the movie. Now, obviously, like I said, it's not the truest of the character, but I kind of appreciated this new view on him, and I think modern audiences will really appreciate it. And it's almost forming a bridge for those naysayers that were like, Superman doesn't work, and allowing them to slowly see how a Superman story can work. So, now that I have all the good out of the way, let's dive in to the bad. All right, so we talked about the good. Now we have to talk about the bad. I'm going to start out by saying this movie is indeed overstuffed. This is a sentiment that you'll see in a couple of, really every other review touches on this. And the tricky thing is that I don't feel like you have to get rid of Guy Gardner and the Justice Gang or a whole lot of things to make it feel more cohesive. You can still have it be a universe-building film whilst also not being overstuffed. There was a couple of things in the movie that I was like, hey, we don't need that. And the story could have been much more focused if you just totally got rid of it. It was absolutely unnecessary. So, as good as this movie is, there's a lot going on. And it almost kind of pays to watch it a second time, I'd say, maybe. I haven't seen it a second time, but I definitely thought about watching it a second time because a lot happens. Now, 2, and I can't stress this enough, a lot of the comedic moments undercut emotional moments and the characters themselves. Now, James Gunn has a lot of funny moments in his movies, and a lot of times they work and they don't undercut the emotional moments. But in this movie, there were countless times where I was really feeling something, and then all of a sudden a joke came out of nowhere, and all of my heartfelt emotions were just kind of gone. And I just don't think that James Gunn's style of humor necessarily fits this movie. With the Guardians of the Galaxy, it worked because almost the heartfeltness was the comedy and these outcasts that were all coming together and becoming a team. But in a Superman movie, it kind of wasn't necessary. And I'm not saying it couldn't be a funny movie. That's not true at all. But a lot of the comedy moments also betrayed the characters, where I was like, okay, that person would not do that if in the comics. And that's not the character you're trying to adapt. It was minor moments, and it didn't ruin the movie for me, but I did think, wow, that was kind of lame. So, with that in mind, that's the bad of the Superman movie. Okay, so I've seen the Superman movie, I've done an out-of-theater reaction, and I just finished my final thoughts and review. Now, I want to say, above all else, this movie is not perfect. But the moment I came out of the theater from watching this movie, I thought to myself, I want to watch more Superman. And to be quite honest, that's what I've been doing since I've seen this movie. I watched the original Christopher Reeve movie. The second movie, I watched Man of Steel. I watched Batman v Superman. And now I'm moving on to Superman Returns. And I'm going to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League again. So, hey, this movie wasn't perfect, but it absolutely got me the bug to watch more Superman. And I think that's going to work and be the fact for a lot of different people. Anyways, those are my closing thoughts. This was a really solid movie. I'd say a 7.5 out of 10. Not perfect, but still really solid and worth the money. Go out and see it. Landstriker, out. Little bro, I hope you're happy because I made this video pretty much just for you. And I guess so I could repurpose some old footage. Anyways, shout out to you, buddy.